The other two functions that we're going to be analyzing today are going to be the other judging functions, Ti and Te. And to get into that, I'll pull up the screen here. So these are the definitions of all of the functions as set out by Myers-Briggs, Fi and Fe, Ti and Te. This is pulled off of a popular typology website that doesn't seem to have particularly wrong information anywhere else, as according to Myers-Briggs. And as I say here, these are fairly obtuse definitions, but they're the best descriptions I could find in my little research. If you have better definitions, then let's collaborate and kind of work on some stuff together. Okay. So going down here, these are the judging functions as I lay them out with Myers-Briggs definitions, which are pulled from here, as well as Socionics definitions, which I pull from Socionics' website, one of Socionics' websites, and the definitions that I'm using in order to facilitate Model B. These are more or less exactly the Model B definitions of the T functions. So one of the things that's going to be a clear juxtaposition between the T and the F functions is the F functions had quite a bit of analysis. In fact, I have probably 10 slides dedicated to analyzing the differences between the F functions, how they don't really correlate well with each other, and so on and so forth. But the T functions themselves are actually fairly clear. And I think this is a byproduct of someone that was working on these systems originally was actually in the alpha quadra. I think the alpha quadra is, like, their functions in general are the most well defined. If you look at the video for the F functions, both of the F values end up being Fe to some extent, and I think that happened because an ENTP was working on the definitions as set forth by Myers-Briggs, and for that matter, Socionics probably, and they came to the conclusion that F, which Fi is their polar function, F is this, and they're just seeing different variations of the F functions. I think that's very hilarious. Anyways, so Myers-Briggs lays out Ti as seeks logical foundations and consistency in thought, as well as autonomy in methodology and decision making. Te is orchestrates external order, efficiency, and effectiveness, consults objective data and evidence in decision making. For Socionics, they say Ti is responsible for understanding of logic communications and structures and classifications, ordering, analysis, logical explanations, and proofs. For Te, Socionics says responsible for efficiency in action, understanding of the technological processes, and the organization of work. These definitions seem to be fairly uniform. In fact, they're incredibly uniform. So I say Model C, the model I'm working on, is using factual information to break down incoming data into a logical structure underneath. Model C, negative TE, positive TI, uses organization and structure to create efficiency. The positive TI for Model C is finding efficient methods to organize and create structure. So it's effectively the inverse of this. And this is going to be the inverse of this. Model C, positive TE, and negative TI, they accumulate factual data by using logical precepts. Just as these are opposites of each other, these are also going to be opposites of each other. So the Model C, positive TE, negative TI, accumulates factual data by using logical precepts. And so what this means is they break down a logical pattern and then pull out the information from it. Whereas negative TI, positive TE will notice the factual data and pull out the logic from it. This is like their main goal, and this would be their main goal. And this is particularly notable in both ESTJs and ISTJs. Both of them are going to be looking for factual data. They're just looking to accumulate that. And they do so by understanding the logical argument at hand and then pulling out what they think is derivable concrete data. Keep in mind that both of these types are also S-types. And so they're going to be doing this in conjunction with being more interested in the concrete physical world rather than abstractness, which is what happens with these guys. The dominant users of these functions, or this function itself, is going to be N-types, the ENTP and INTP. And so they are more interested in the abstract usage of said information, i.e. the logical structure underneath, and not necessarily the factual information so much. But they use the factual information plenty as well. So this breakdown here has some implications when it comes to typing certain types, such as ESTPs and ESTJs. I've seen a lot of people would espouse that an ESTP, which has TI, but they have this TI, are very logical, and I would argue that the people that are ESTP and like that, their T functions are going to be strong, so they're going to show that plenty, and also their inverse T function, the one that they don't value, which would be this one, is going to be their demonstrative function. So you see that all the time regardless. But the ones that are using that as an underlying method, their tool function, those are probably actually ESTJs. All right, I say here there are clear distinctions between the Socionics system and the Myers-Briggs system. Both systems are pulling at corollaries and describing function identity on a somewhat superficial level. Model B of Socionics introduces a positive and negative system, and in its proper implementation, pulls the system to a more rigid, usable taxonomy. So Myers-Briggs TI lines up Socionics TI, which lines up with Model C's negative TI, positive TE, which lines up more closely with positive TE, negative TI. TE lines up with TE again, which lines up with positive TI, which lines up with negative TE. Unlike the F function videos, which is probably going to be 10 or 15 minutes long and has all this analysis, T functions are fairly straightforward. As you can see here, there's not much of a disconnect, whereas with the F function video, there was a severe disconnect. So this analysis isn't going to be that long because it doesn't need to be. T functions are largely as they put them in. They are from the perspective of someone that values and uses negative TI, positive TE, specifically as a tool function, it would seem. Especially with the notion that they really didn't even understand what FI is, or negative FI is, because it's their polar function. And with that, I'm going to conclude the second video on typology. Anyways, if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe, and comment down below if you have any analysis, any critiques, any ideas, if you want to just anything. I'm looking to actively engage with the community here on YouTube. Have a good one.